Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Wednesday. You guys know me. I'm Nancy Quinn, business coach and body language trainer to interior designers, and I am here with my bookkeeper. I was going to say with my C2 accounting expert, Carleen Lamay. Welcome, Carleen. How are you today?
I am well. I am well. We were just talking about the heat, but other than that, I am doing great. And it's so funny because every time we talk, it seems like we keep coming back to the same conversations. But
I know. I know.
yeah, you're
Well, really, it's all about, right? You are a bookkeeping firm. You do it virtually. So we're always talking about having clean books and what that really means to everybody is kind of what we're summarizing today, correct?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think the topic is what clean books unlock. Profit, peace, and better decisions. By the way, that is a great title. Kudos to your team for that title.
So let me ask you something then. So once the designer has accurate and current financials, what becomes possible that wasn't possible before?
Well, even before we talk about what becomes possible, I feel like most designers, let's not say most, a lot of designers are really working hard, right? But their money story, for lack of a better term, isn't always matching their effort. And so today we want to talk about like when that changes, what they'll feel like.
Okay. Okay. So give me an example of like what that shift actually looks like.
Yeah, so well, one of the number one things I hear from people is I'm making money, I don't know where it's going, or there's a disconnect between the cash flow and what we've realized is that it's a clarity problem and it lives in the books. And so eventually what happens is once you not only have clean books, 'cause I think having clean books is just part of the thing, the other part is that you're actively involved. I think we've talked about this in the past where people feel like bookkeeping is something you just hand over and you walk away from. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's a partnership, and that you still need to have a working financial knowledge of your business. You need to understand the terms, how to read reports. It's kind of like holistically. And then once you have all of that, then you can go back to what the title was. You can have that, the profit, your piece, and you can make better decisions.
I got to tell you, I mean, just my business alone, when I was doing my own bookkeeping before Carleen and C2 accounting, I was doing partial and then I had an accountant doing some, and it was a bit of a mess. I
Yeah.
can admit that. Like, I did not know, even as a business coach, it's a specific skill to learn how to use QuickBooks, learn how to read your financial reports. When do you really need to read them and what do you use them for? Right?
Right.
So, who is
Yeah.
the designer who needs to hear this the most right now?
Oh, I mean, every designer, basically any designer that isn't that doesn't have a solid bookkeeper in their corner. When I say solid bookkeeper, meaning they understand your third-party software. So if you're building in design files or my material or anything like that, they don't understand how to make sure that that software is talking to QuickBooks and they're reconciling the two. It's for any interior designer that feels unsure, uneasy, if they
Yeah.
get that knot in their stomach every time they either talk about their finances or they go to open QuickBooks or they hear from their bookkeeper, then this is for them.
I agree with you. I think it's for anyone who, when they either avoid opening their QuickBooks or their financial software, whatever they're using. I mean, I have people on my calendar every single day who I've never spoken to before. And if I say to them, do you know how much money you made last month? How much was your
Right.
gross? How much was your net? What are your expenses? I get a blank stare often, and I expect it. So
Yeah,
no one watching, don't get worried about getting on anyone's calendar because we know that this is kind of where we all begin, me
of
included in the
course.
beginning. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing until I got someone to help me and then train me and then do it for me. Like, there's a progression here, isn't there?
Yes, there is definitely a progression. Knowledge is always going to be key. And then having someone who is going to take care of the bookkeeping, but also hold your hand. I like to say that there's no question is a dumb question. But
Mhm.
I think that when it comes to finances, a lot of people feel, um, They feel stupid. That's
and
not to be
nervous.
mean, right? But that's how they feel. Even though that's not what they are, but that's how they feel. And you can, and as a bookkeeper, I have to acknowledge that, my job is to give people what they paid me for, right? Clean books. But it's also to emotionally let them know that it's okay and that
Yes.
we will do this together, right?
Yes.
And that, so some of the gaps that we see with most optimal bookkeeping and how they tend to snowball is that, they're not categorizing their transactions, right? They're not reconciling accounts. They're mixing the business and personal. That's what we call the usual suspects. Um, Bookkeeping doesn't feel urgent until it is, until they come
It's
to
so
work with,
true.
right, until they come to work with
It's
someone
so
like
true.
you and you're like, show me your books, and they're like, oh, and then it becomes urgent, right? Or they're ready to get a loan and they realize they don't have the information to do that. And then there's that ripple effect. Wrong numbers, wrong decisions. And I think building your business from your gut can only take you so far. At some point you have to have real data so that you
Yes.
can make better decisions. You tend to think you're more profitable than you are, so you're underpricing. You see that a lot,
A
right?
lot.
A
Yeah.
lot, because they're like, I sold, 3 projects and I feel like I still don't have any money. And then when they go back and they try to see, well, how profitable were those projects, they realize they weren't as profitable as they thought. Because yes, you sold a $200,000 project, but if you had $175,000 in cost of goods sold, how much money did you really make? And then talk about paying your installers and your contractors and the CAD person. It starts to eat away at that profitability.
And all the tech.
Oh my gosh, let's not talk about that, because even I have
I s-
software. It's just software, and it goes up. Instead of every year, it feels like software prices increases every 6 months. But yeah,
Yeah, I swear to God, all my software, we use a lot of software to run an online coaching business,
yeah,
and every price went up this year. It's ridiculous,
it
right?
does.
But
Yeah.
yet we don't want to raise our prices so much always because we want to be able to still serve people. So there's always this catch 22 of chasing. And
Mm,
interior designers really have the same issue. They have to
exactly.
have to know their numbers and understand their numbers. Do you have a story of someone besides me, who didn't understand their numbers and now really understands it, and how different and successful that has helped them be?
So I have one client that in the area part of the country where she's an interior designer, where every summer there inevitably there was a downturn. And that angst that comes about, like, oh crap, we know it's going to happen. And for the first couple of years, I think she just kind of muscled her way through it. But we sat down, I want to say it was not last year, it was a year before, and we were looking at the numbers and we took a look to see how much did it cost to run her business. Right, which meaning how much is, if you took away, if you had no sales this month, which means you have no cost of goods sold this month, how much does it cost just to keep the doors open and lights on, paying yourself, your people, your software costs, things that you just can't easily get rid of.
Right.
And we decided to figure out how many months do you want to have in the bank to cover that, so that next year, when this happens again, because it's going to happen again, that you're not feeling like you have to run up a credit card or take out a line of credit, which she did. We got that kind of under control. And to her credit, she took our advice. And the next year, when the slowdown happened, she was able to stay steady. She was able to have the cash to keep her through. It left her not having that anxiety filled summer. So she was able to relax and enjoy the summer, going, yep, the sales aren't there, but there's money in the bank and I'm going to be okay because I know what's on the other side.
That's amazing. That's a great story
I
because that
love that story.
happens to so many designers. They have their seasons, right? Where it's
Hmm.
great business and then it dips and they're like, what do I do now? So planning for it is one of the things that knowing your numbers and having a good bookkeeper to help you figure that out is going to be invaluable.
Yeah. And here's another one. And this is one that you talk about a lot, about using something like a profit first for interior designers, because interior designers have that extra complexity of client deposits, project based revenue, vendor payments, sales taxes, right? So there are all these things, which is why a lot of times a more general bookkeeper doesn't always fit well for them. because
Yes.
I have clients that they haven't gone to the profit first route yet. And so you look at the checking account and there's, $200,000 in there, but they haven't paid themselves. Do you want to know why? They don't know how much of that is theirs. And so my first advice is let's get a separate account for either call it cost of it sold, client purchases, whatever you want to
I
call it.
call it pass through. Anything that's
Pass through
passing through
anything,
your
exactly.
business into someone else's pocket is not yours.
Is not yours. Let's put that over there, including your sales taxes. And that way, when you look at your operating account and you're like, okay, and then you take some of that money aside and put it into a savings account for, for profit and for like the having that cushion that we talked about, you can now feel safe that I can now pay myself. Because what's worse than running a business for a year and not taking any money out of it? That's just
It's an expensive hobby. And I
a
will say it
hobby.
happens in certain seasons for people. And I get this often. I'm paying my people, but I'm not paying myself. I'm like, okay, so let's see what's happening and
Right.
let's figure out how to bring that back. Right? It's a process.
Exactly. And that goes back because if it's the season where they're not paying themselves, is it because you haven't had a cash cushion to weather that? And, we learn better, we do better. So taking a look back, and one of my favorite reports in QuickBooks is being able to look at that profit and loss over time, because you can
Mm,
really start to see those trends and understanding what the trends mean to you. I just got off a call with another interior designer who's in Idaho. And for her, the summer is not a slowdown. For her, the winter is because it's so cold there. New construction stops, and she works a lot with like builders and do a lot of new construction design.
hmm
And so for her, she has the opposite advice of what I gave my other client in Virginia. You need to make sure that you're looking at your winter numbers and understanding, okay, I need to save money for that. And for a lot of us, the beginning of the year, we tend to get those charges for the software that we decided to pay for the full year up front. And we
Yep.
forget because we're not paying for it every month. And you forget that though that $1,000 is going to come be charged to your card in January or February. So understanding that for her is going to be super important because not only do you have the normal cost of running your business, but you may have some surprise software expenses that you weren't necessarily planning for.
Absolutely. Okay. Did we cover everything? Or let me ask you this. What's one thing an interior designer can do this week? Give them some parting advice.
Let's see here. So, what is one thing they can do this week is if they have numbers, if they actually have books, they should definitely go ahead and take a look at their profit and loss over some time and really understand how much it costs to run their business. I think that's gonna give them some peace of mind. To go, oh, well, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. I think the unknown is what gets us all freaked out.
Definitely.
um yeah, having some just knowing and kind of like looking at that, taking feeling the fear and doing it anyway, kind of a thing. And if you don't have books, get a bookkeeper. Get some
I was
books
going
in
to
place.
say your one thing is different from mine. My one thing is if you're watching this and you do not have a rock star bookkeeper and you feel funny asking questions of your bookkeeper, then go call Carleen this week. That's my thing. Go to C2 Accounting and get on with Carleen and talk about your books. You give a free 15, 20 minutes.
Yes, our standard, I want to say 30 minutes. We have a free introductory call just so we can understand about their business. So what I like to tell people is you're going to interview us as much as we're interviewing you.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it makes sense, we move forward. If they already have books in place, we do a diagnostic review. And it's like going to the doctor and saying my knee hurts. We're going to do an MRI, X-ray of your books. We do
That's good.
we
I
do
like that
charge for it.
analogy.
Yeah, it is, and we charge for it. It's only $4.95. It's peace of mind, but we do apply that $4.95 to future work. So, if we have to clean up your books, we take it off the cleanup. If your books are in great shape, and we just take over as your bookkeeper, we apply to your first month's bookkeeping. So it's kind of a win-win situation. But you also get to see. We show you this is what we're seeing in your books. Right? Here's how if it needs to be fixed, here's how it needs to be fixed. And if it doesn't need to be fixed, we'll show you this is great and this is why it's great.
Unbelievable. I think it's just a no-brainer for anyone who's watching. If you're not comfortable with your numbers, then please call Carleen and get on her calendar. And that cleanup, I remember when you did it for me, I was like, oh, wow. Like light bulbs went off as to little things that were not quite where they should be. And starting to understand numbers better for me made all the difference in the world. And I know you work with a lot of my clients, my one-on-one clients, my group clients, and they love you.
Well, we love them too. Yeah, that whole, I'm glad you had that light bulb moment, and that's what we want for all of our clients. We want them to be able to open up QuickBooks or open up the report when we send it and not have the pit in their stomach. That's what we want to avoid, the pit in the stomach. So
All right.
we want peace.
We want peace. All right. Tell everyone where to find you once again.
c2-accounting.com.
Okay. And it's not an accounting firm. It's a bookkeeping firm.
Right. We
And
are an accounting firm, but we focus primarily on bookkeeping and controller services. So yeah, the only thing we're not going to do is we're not going to do income taxes. I hate income taxes. So we're not doing it. We don't do it.
We all hate it, so I don't blame you. Smart business move. All right, everyone, go have a great rest of your day, and Carleen and I will see you next month. And if you want to go binge watch Carleen's content with me and with my associate coach Leslie, go to my YouTube channel, and we have a playlist all for this way. I'm on the opposite on the camera. This way we have a playlist of all of Carleen's lives, and you can learn a tremendous amount about bookkeeping, accounting, and what you should know as an interior designer about those things called your numbers. All right, and we'll see you next